So people always wonder why I chose to go into goat farming if I'm consistently praising, poultry farming and all the money that can be made from poultry farming. And another thing, I'm always talking about focus on one thing. So then, if I'm talking about focus, why am I diverting my attention and going into goat farming? If you're new to the channel and you don't understand what I do, I'm Dr. Daniel, a retired medical doctor. Well, I quit medicine about 4 years ago, 2021, and since then I've been concentrating my attention on farming. And most people do know me for poultry farming. If you look behind me, you can see some chicken houses. I have 12,000 chickens on this farm, but very soon we're going to expand because there's a new poultry house right there in the distance, and that's going to take our capacity to 14,500 chickens. I also do have a breeder farm where I produce day-old chicks right there. But recently I've been concentrating a lot of my attention, or I would say a bit, not a lot, but a bit of my attention on growing my goat farm. And just to help you understand, you can see this right here, yeah? So this is a garden of alfalfa. Recently, we just cut the alfalfa. So it looks like there is lines coming up, but no, we actually just cut it. I don't know if you guys can see, yeah? We just cut it, and the guys are putting it in bags. Now we wanted to leave it in the garden so that it withers and then we can bale it, but then we couldn't bale it because there's too much rain. Yeah, there's too much rain and it's going to be very difficult for it to dry. So what we've decided to do is to put it in bags just like this one. So you can see a lot of bags around the place. Yeah, and you can see my team right there. They are putting it in bags. So we're going to first place it at the top of that house, the new poultry house, so that it withers and dries maybe for 3 or 4 days. And then after that, we can bale it so that, we can store it to be utilized by the goats. Honestly, it's not too much. Yeah, it's not too much. So since it's alfalfa, we'll mainly keep it for the kids and maybe the breastfeeding mothers. But our goal is to ensure that we get this garden ready. That's why they have had to get it out. So today we're going to place manure inside this garden. Our harvest, this current harvest wasn't the best, honestly. Yeah, some of the areas you can see, the leaves are quite, they're not green enough. They're a bit pale yellow. The grass wasn't very tall, and it's because we didn't initially spread manure inside here very well. But we have now put in some manure. If you guys can see, yeah, some of the areas we've placed manure, and we're going to place more manure in the entire garden. So I want the guys to get it out. So we place it inside there, it withers. And then after that, we're going to place a lot of manure inside this garden. That's going to be work for today and tomorrow, probably, yeah? To get the garden ready so that as it sprouts and germinates, our next cutting is much better than this, yeah? Because I've counted, we have about 25 bags, yeah? So roughly that would probably be like 25 bales. It certainly won't be 25 bales because once we well, it might be 25 bales, but once we compact it to make bales, it's certainly going to be much less. So we are hoping that that should be, good enough, but with our next harvest, we expect to get better. Also, with our very first harvest, we had a problem of rain because I planted just towards the end of the rainy season. And so it grew up and it has made it 3 months, but it didn't have a lot of rain. But now this has actually come at like the perfect time. The rain is just starting to come. And if we manage to, put a lot of manure inside, we might actually be able to cut it in 1.5 months. Yeah, it might be able to grow and, produce those nutrients. And we might be able to cut it in 1.5 months. And then we maybe have 2 cuttings before the end of the year, because this is what? Mid-August, so September, October, November, December. We have 4 months. If we could do 2 cuttings in the remaining 4 months, that would be really worth our efforts. So we are trying to do everything that we can. You can see that the garden needs some weeding, but we can't weed right now because we would be wasting time. We need to first place the manure inside. Then later on we can do the weeding, yeah? Of course, the manure is going to speed up the growth of the weeds, but it's okay, yeah? What we need is the alfalfa to grow, and that's our focus right now. So because of that, you can clearly see that I'm paying a lot of attention to my goat farm. Yeah, a lot of attention. I do have a goat farm on a hill somewhere that currently maybe has 60, 70 animals. That's goat and sheep put together. And I would love to accelerate it, probably bring in a few more females to help accelerate the growth of the farm. But I can't do it right now because I'm having problems with the neighbors. The goats keep escaping. They go into the neighbors' gardens. I have 2 people to look after them. We don't tether them, so we graze them. And grazing them is a problem because they keep escaping. So because of that, I want to zero graze them, but zero grazing means that I need to grow pastures. So that's what I'm trying to do right now. I'm trying to concentrate on growing pastures. Hopefully by December, we'll have enough pasture for us then to be able to zero graze them, and that's my attention. So I can clearly see that I'm paying quite an amount of attention to, the goat farming. So then why would I be putting a lot of attention on the goat farm? Why? Yeah. And I can imagine if you're one of the guys outside there, and the main reason you'd be asking me this question is, okay, Dr. Daniel, should I be doing goat farming? Should I be doing poultry farming? Should I be doing goat farming and poultry farming? Yeah. Which of the three should I be paying a lot of attention to? Yeah. And so I'm going to be telling you from my experience what I believe is the best. I mean, I don't have too many goats right now. I have 70 or so goats. Yeah. On the breeder farm, though, I do have quite a number of goats. Over there, currently we have about over 400 goats and sheep. Previously, we've had over 800 goats and sheep. Currently, the number is a little bit down, but I do have quite an amount of experience with that. Now, not as much experience as I do have with the poultry right here, but I do have quite an amount of experience right now because I've been doing it for quite a number of years. So I'm going to be giving you advice on what I think would be the best alternative for you depending on different circumstances, and why personally I have decided to go this route. Yeah. Now, first of all, by the time I decided to start my goat farm, I started, I would say, from a privileged point of view. Yeah. Most people who do goat farms are not going to start from where I am, because by the time I decided to go into it, I already had a poultry farm. I already had a poultry farm. Probably at that time, maybe I had 5,000 birds or something like that. And what that means is that I was able to get in some money. I was already getting in some money. In fact, I got in enough money that it enabled me to actually buy land. And when it does come to goat farming, your biggest hindrance is going to be land. It's 100% going to be land. Yeah. Poultry farming, for example, I personally, when I started my poultry farm, I started my poultry farm on my dad's land. I didn't need to have land. Now, of course, my dad had land. Again, that was a privilege. It wasn't a lot of land. It was about 1/3 of an acre, but I still managed to place my chicken house in front of his house, his residential house. He let me do that. A lot of people don't have that advantage. But if I wanted to start a goat farm, I would never start a goat farm in front of my dad's, home. I would never do that. 100%, I wouldn't. So my privilege is that I had land, but again, I didn't need too much land. Now, for a goat farm, you're 100% going to need a lot of land. And that becomes the biggest hindrance because I'll be honest with you, land is not cheap. Of course, the kind of land that you would need for a goat farm, again, is not going to be like the most expensive land, but land anywhere is not cheap. Yeah, and the expanses or the size of land you would need to actually run a proper goat farm is not little. You're going to need quite a huge amount of land. For example, I do have 15 acres, not 15, maybe 19 acres or so, exactly where the goat farm is. Yeah, that's a lot of land, guys. Yeah, that is a lot of land. About 19 acres where the goat farm is. And right here, this is about maybe an acre, I would say, more or less, where I'm growing the alfalfa. A little bit less than that, but almost that. Yeah, where I'm growing the alfalfa right now. Yeah, and guys, I've been offered an option to actually buy more land. So my neighbor is selling. My neighbor on the side right there is selling. Yeah, interesting. So maybe that would be another acre. So very soon I'm going to have like 5 acres right here. And I mean, it's not hard for me to buy that other acre because I already do have a farm that's making me money. I can save, and I could purchase that 1 acre. That 1 acre is like, how many times? This 1 acre that I would buy here is like 10 times the price of land where the goat farm is. Yeah, and meanwhile, just to let you know, the goat farm is only 5 kilometers from now. But for me to buy an acre of land where this poultry farm is, I pay 10 times the price that, in fact, more than 10 times, like 15 times the price that I would pay where the goat farm is. So it's not cheap. It's quite expensive, yeah? But I mean, the opportunity has come, and once the opportunity comes, you can utilize it. I mean, yeah, I'm just going to keep the land. I'll get the land, utilize it. Probably later on, I can expand the farm, maybe to 30,000, 40,000 birds, who knows, yeah? Just take the opportunities when they come. So the main reason I decided to do that is because of de-risking. Yeah. So when you're starting out a farm, there are things that are much more priority compared to others. I mean, when you're starting any form of business, yeah, it's just like someone who makes $500 and someone who makes 5,000 and someone who makes 50,000 and someone who makes $5 million. They're all different. You understand? Very different. The person who makes $5 million approaches business opportunities completely differently from someone who makes $500 a month. Completely different. You understand? There are bets and things that someone who makes $500 would go into that the person who makes 5 million wouldn't go into, because it's not worth the risk for them. But for the person who makes $500, it's okay. They can make the risk. They lose the 500, they'll find a way of making the $500 again, yeah? Because for them, if it works out, the risk is worth it. If it works out, they could easily 10 times what they make. They could make $50,000 or $5,000 simply by investing $500. But for the person with $5 million, I mean, if it works out, they could easily 10 times. But then if it doesn't work out, they stand to lose $5 million. Not just $500, yeah? So depending on where someone's level is in business, some things work out or some things make sense and some things don't make sense. So same exact thing. If someone is outside there and they're just starting a farm, I wouldn't advise, you know, going out into different alternatives, starting a poultry farm for broilers and layers and goat farming and all these things, simply because you want to decrease your risk, yeah? Why? Because it lowers your ability to focus and get great results in one thing. It lowers your ability to get, you know, good results in, you know, that one thing that you want to get good results in. On the contrary, for me, who has already, you know, de-risked and I've already figured out how to do the, you know, the poultry farm, my risk is much lower, honestly, and can spend, or I can invest quite an amount of money into my goat farm without worrying about the returns that it will bring me. Yeah, I'm not going to sit down and think to myself, okay, so how much will I make from the goat farm next year and the other year and the other year? No, that's completely off my head, because even if I made nothing out of it for 5 years, I am certain that the poultry farm is going to make me money, and then at some point I'm going to start making big money out of the goat farm. I have one of my mentors in business. He told me something that, you know, I found quite iconic, and it remained in my head. He told me that if you're starting a business, if it cannot go big, then F it. That's it. If it can't go big, forget about it. Just throw it away. Yeah, that's why I'm the kind of person who doesn't believe so much in, you know, looking after dual-purpose chickens and local chickens. Yeah, they can be good businesses. They can make you know, a lot of sense in terms of like the profits and the amount of money you can make from them. In terms of like the percentages, but in terms of like the absolute market cap, it's very difficult, because you're not going to keep 10,000 local chickens. No, I've never seen someone do that. You're not going to keep, you know, 10,000 dual-purpose chickens. You might, but it's very unlikely. Yeah, because that kind of demand is just not there for those types of birds. For 100, for 500, for 2,000, it might make a lot of sense. But if you want to go big, if you want to get to 10,000, 20,000, it just doesn't make sense. Yeah, so that's why I personally focus on the things where it can grow big. So if you want to start a goat farm and you want to start it, you know, at a point of 2-3 goats, then what's the point? What's the point? Yeah. So I personally, the main reason I want to zero graze the goats is because on these 15 acres or 18 acres that I do have, I cannot keep them while, you know, grazing them. I need to make sure that I utilize all that land to grow as much pasture as possible. That way I can make a lot of money from the goat farm. That needs to be the goal, and that's what I'm trying to focus on right now. Yeah, utilizing all that pasture. And for me, now it's going to make a lot of sense because I can go big into it. Yeah, so if you're outside there and you're starting, my advice to you is that focus on one thing. And what is that one thing? The one thing that actually has potential for quick growth and multiplication and bring you money is chicken farming. Yeah, it is. Yeah. Now, I'm not saying you shouldn't do goat farming. You can absolutely do goat farming, but you can do goat farming if, number one, you already do have the land, or quite a big amount of land that you can utilize. Yeah. And then also if you're willing to be patient and wait. So you're probably already doing another business, maybe doing your job, let's say your job. Maybe your job is earning you, let's say, $1,000, $2,000 a month, $500 a month, whatever you're earning, yeah, it doesn't really matter. And then you feel like you can slowly invest into your goat farm where you already do have your land, and maybe in 3-4 years it will be big enough, then it is worth it. But if you want to go into farming with the point and the thought of I need to make money out of farming immediately, then goat farming is probably not your thing. Yeah, it's because it's going to take you some time to get money out of it. Because how do you get money out of goat farming? It's usually from reproduction. You know, the kids that are being produced. That's how you're going to make money out of it. Yeah, keep getting more females. Those females give you more kids. Those kids, the percentage of them is males. Let's say half of them are males. Then you sell those males, and the numbers keep increasing until you reach a point whereby you probably don't need to keep keeping, you know, all the females. Then you can start selling more. That's how it makes sense, and that's going to take a lot of time. Yeah, so then start a poultry farm. Start a piggery, maybe, because it's also going to make you way more money and quicker returns compared to a goat farm. And then you can, you know, do the goat farm maybe later on. You understand? So I hope this makes a lot of sense to you guys, yeah, under what circumstances can you start a poultry farm, under what circumstances can you start a goat farm, and when should you be able to do both. Yeah, you should be able to do both once you've started your poultry farm, and I mean the risk is much lower, you're already getting profit out of it, and then you can concentrate on other things. At that point it makes sense. Before that point it doesn't make sense. I wouldn't advise you to do it before that point. I hope I've made a lot of sense. So if you're the kind of person who wants to start a poultry farm and you don't know what it takes to take a poultry farm or to start a poultry farm, I've made a video of literally the entire process from starting to the point where you start making money. Yeah, the entire process. And I'll leave a link to that video in the description below. Check it out. Catch you very soon with another video. Lots of love. Bye-bye.